welcome back to my channel. My name is Darian and today it's finally here. I am so excited to bring you guys the Great Booktube Showdown. So as many of you know, if you've watched even one of my videos, I have mentioned a secret TBR that I've been working on for a very long time. I read the first book for this video back in March and it is now the beginning of January. So it has taken me a long time to do this video. It should not have taken me this long, but it did. But it's finally here and I'm so excited to finally bring you guys what I've been working on for so long. So essentially I have brought together 8 booktubers. Actually there's 7 and one of them is not a booktuber, one of them is my real life friend, but it's fine. 8 booktubers who are going to be battling it out and we're gonna see who can recommend me the best books. So who are the people that I have asked to participate in this? I mean, you have probably already figured it out from the thumbnail, but let's go through them. We have Lisa from With Love Lisa, Kasey from Kasey Can Read, Sydney from Said Bookworm, Jess from Books Past Bedtime, Rachel from Let Me in the Library, Manda from Ginger Snapped Reads, Sasha from The Redhead Reader, and finally my very dear friend Salma, who is not a booktuber, but she is basically the reason I have gotten back into reading over the past few years. I spent a very long time not reading. One day she just gave me some amazing book recommendations and I finally got back into reading, so I figured for the first episode of this, because I am hoping to do more episodes in the future that hopefully won't take as long, but I felt like I had to include her in this to honor her, and yeah, I just love her so much. So I decided to include her in this. Hopefully that's fine with you guys. So essentially what this concept is, I have paired each booktuber with each other. So there are 4 pairs of 2 booktubers. I will put up a graphic that I have made. I know it's not very pretty, but as long as it makes sense, that's all that matters. So 2 booktubers will go head to head and I have asked each booktuber to recommend 3 different books to me, and because there are 3 rounds in this competition and I will read one recommendation from each booktuber. Whichever book I liked more, that booktuber will move on to the next round until we have a winner at the end. So how did I pair them up? How did I choose which order to read each books in? I thought of a few different ways to do this. I thought, like, should I put 2 booktubers that read similar things together or 2 that do not read similar things? Do I put them in order of the ones I'm most excited to read? I really didn't know what to do, so I decided to just make everything random. I don't know if that is the best way to go about this, but I figured for the first round that just made the most sense to me. So what I did was I put everyone's names in like this generator that paired them up for me, and then I put every booktuber's books and like created a random list out of them. So that's how I did everything. It was completely random. There might have been a better way to do this, but that's just what I have. So once again, looking at the graphic, we have round 1, Lisa versus Jess, round 2, Kasey versus Sydney, round 3, Manda versus Sasha, and round 4, Rachel versus Salma. And then once again, the books that I read in each round were completely random. I just randomly made a list of them and that was the order I was going to read them. So I'm going to put up another graphic and show you guys each booktuber and what books they recommended to me. So take a look at this graphic. I know it's probably not going to be very pretty. I am not Books and Lala, so just look at it. Ooh, look at all these books. Wow, so pretty. Also keep in mind these books were recommended to me back in March. So I'm sure they would have recommended different books since then, but this is just what we're working with and it's fine. So for round 1, obviously I had to read 8 different books, and that is what you will see in this video, and there will be a part 2 coming where I will read the round 2 books and finally the round 3 books, and then we'll see who ends up winning and who has recommended me the best books. So also keep in mind this was filmed over the course of like 9 months, I think, so there's gonna be a lot of jumping back and forth in time in these clips. Hopefully that's fine. I mean, I don't know if you'll even notice, but I definitely notice, so I apologize once again for taking so long with this video, but I hope you enjoy watching these booktubers unknowingly battle it out against each other. I read some really great books for this video, and I read some very horrible books. In my opinion. Remember, everything is my opinion, okay? Let's not get mad at me and let's not get mad at the booktubers who suggested these books. Also to you guys, thank you guys so much for unknowingly participating in this. All you knew was that I needed book recommendations from you. If I didn't like the book that you recommended, I am really sorry. Obviously it's not personal and I still love you guys so much and I appreciate your taste in books, and I will leave all these booktubers linked down below obviously for you guys to check them out because they're all amazing, and if I have permission from Salma, leave her Twitter down below if you want to check her out, because she is one of my best friends and I love her so much. And as I will explain later on in this video, she basically saved this whole video because I thought I lost all the clips, couldn't find them, and she somehow found them for me. So I explained that more at one point in the video. So there we go. I think that's everything for the intro, and now I will just let you guys enjoy me reading all the books, and I will come back at the end to end this video. Here we go, round one. Hello! So I started the first book for this video and I started reading No Exit by Taylor Adams, which is Jess's book. So this book, if you don't know, it's about this girl named Darby, and she is on her way home to visit her mom because she just found out her mom has cancer and it looks like she's probably going to die soon. So she's rushing home, but it's in the middle of this huge snowstorm and she ends up having to stop at this rest stop, and there's too much snow and the roads are really bad, the highways are closed, so she has to stay at this rest stop for the night. And there's four other people at this rest stop, and at one point she goes outside because she doesn't have cell service, so she goes outside to try to find some cell service, and she passes by one of the cars from one of the people at the rest stop, and she sees that in the back of this car there is a little girl in a cage. So this book is pretty dark. So basically, I mean, you find out pretty quickly who the car belongs to and who is keeping this girl in a cage in their car. So the book is basically just Darby trying to figure out how to save this girl and how to not let the person that she knows is holding this girl hostage, like how to not let them know that she knows what's going on, because then she's putting herself in danger and she might put the innocent people at the rest stop in danger as well. And this book is very stressful. I've heard from so many people how stressful this book is, and it definitely is very stressful. I looked on Goodreads and I think Jess gave this 4.5 stars, so I know she really loves this book. So far I am really liking it. It is really fast paced, like I'm reading it very quickly. I am about halfway done now. I can't remember if I mentioned that already, and I'm really enjoying it. I thought that it would maybe be 5 stars, but I don't think it will be. I feel like it'll be at least 4 stars for sure, like unless something really bad happens, like bad in terms of like plot wise, like not well written, I guess. It'll definitely be at least 4 stars. I am really enjoying it. I have a feeling that the ending is gonna be crazy because so far like there's already been so many twists and turns, and I'm just like, I have no idea where this is going. Like there's no way I can predict what's gonna happen, and I'm very nervous. So yeah, those are my thoughts so far. But yeah, I have a feeling this will be about 4 stars, and it'll be very interesting to compare this to Pride and Prejudice, which is Lisa's book, because those are two very different books. But yeah, so I'll come back once I finish this book and let you guys know what I thought about it. Okay, so I have finished No Exit now, and that book was wild. But I think when I updated last I said that there were some gory parts. Well, I didn't think it could get more gross, but it did. There was something that happened, and like a few pages before it happened I could see where it was going, and I was like, please don't tell me that this is about to happen. And then of course it did, and I actually got my reaction to the thing happening, so I'll put that in here. But yeah, that was super gross. Oh my god. I mean, it wasn't super descriptive, I guess, but just the idea. If you've read the book, I hope you know what I'm talking about, because if not, this just sounds confusing. But anyways, so the ending to this book was wild. Like, I was so stressed. I mean, I was stressed out the whole book, but the ending especially, I was like, oh my god. There were so many twists and turns, and I was like I kept thinking I knew where it was gonna go, but then it was like, never mind. And I was like, okay. So anyways, so the ending was crazy, especially like the epilogue. Anyways, the whole ending was crazy, but I really, really liked the book. I thought it was really good. It was so suspenseful, and I really did not know where it was going, and I like that it kept me guessing, and that I'm sorry, but my cat's being very distracting. But yeah, I like that I never knew where it was going, and like, I thought when I started the book, I thought I knew kind of what the ending would be like, but it was different than what I expected, so I really liked that. So in the end, I gave this book 4.5 stars. I think the only reason I couldn't give it that 5 stars was just because it was a little too gory for me. Like, I was having trouble reading those parts, so that was the only thing. Everything else, I just really loved this book. So yeah, 4.5 stars. So Jess recommended a good one for me. So like I said before, it's gonna be very weird trying to compare this to Pride and Prejudice, but that is what fate has dealt me, so I guess that's what I have to do. So yeah, hopefully I'll be picking that up soon, and I will update you guys once I am partway through that book. So yeah, on to the next book. Hello. I know I look rough right now. I just came back from taking Lazo on a walk, and it is snowing at the end of April. So my hair is just wet, my glasses are covered in water, and I don't feel like cleaning them. So that's why I don't have my glasses on, so I hope I'm in focus because I can't see. Also, you can probably hear Laszlo. You can kind of see him. Oh. Hello. Anyways, you could probably hear him chewing on his toy, but hopefully it's fine. So I wanted to update and say that I am pretty far into Pride and Prejudice. I kept forgetting to update, so I'm actually like not super close to the end. I have maybe a bit less than 100 pages left, but I figured I should do a check. Okay, of course my battery died. But as I was saying, I thought I should do a check-in before I do finish this book. As you can see, I've been tabbing it. I am really enjoying this so far. I am struggling a bit with the writing. Like, I think it's good that I've seen the movie before reading this, because I feel like if I had read this without seeing the movie, I would not know what was going on all the time, because like the writing is beautiful, but sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. But that's my only complaint. I'm loving this. I love the story. Should I explain the synopsis? I feel like everyone knows what this book is about, but I'll explain it. We're following the Bennet family. There's 5 sisters, and we're mainly following Elizabeth Bennet, and they're not super poor, but they're also not rich either. And since they are 5 daughters, the estate that they live in will not go to them once their father dies. So they are trying to find wealthy husbands to make sure that they live comfortably once their father dies. So we're mainly following Elizabeth, and she meets Mr. Darcy, and it's kind of enemies to lovers, except he likes her from the beginning, but she does not like him, and there's just a bunch of stuff that happens. I love the movie so much. It's one of my favorite movies, and I'm really enjoying this book. I'm not loving it as much as I hoped I would, but still, like, I think right now it's sitting at like a 4.5, and if it ends up being a 4.5, that'll be interesting, because No Exit was also a 4.5, and I have no idea how I'm gonna choose between these books because they're so different, but I'll get to that when I finish this. But I mean, I'm sure I'll love the ending, so I don't think that's gonna change much, so it should be interesting. I'm sorry again that you can hear Laszlo chewing, but this is what we're working with right now. So I will update again once I am finished this, but I am really enjoying it so far. It's taken me a while to read because I'm currently in finals right now, and I have not been in the mood to read. So like, I'll read like 20 pages a day, and then I'm like, that's enough for one day. My brain can't handle anymore. So I am taking a little while to read this, but it's not because I'm not enjoying it. It's just because my brain is tired. But anyways, I'll update again once I'm done, and then I'll have to choose between this book and No Exit. So Can't wait to do that. Okay. Okay, so I just finished filming a video, in case you couldn't tell, but I have finished Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. As you can see, I tabbed it a lot. I definitely I'm sorry about that last clip. I looked really rough in that, but hopefully I look a little more presentable now. But yes, I finished Pride and Prejudice. I finished it, I think the day I had my last final. Let me tell you, reading this during final season probably wasn't the best decision because like the language and the writing was just too much for my poor brain. But that didn't affect how I felt about it, I promise. It just took me longer to read. But in the end, I really liked this book. I am very happy I read it. Definitely been wanting to read it for so long. I have to say, I have since rewatched the movie since finishing this, and I find now that I've read the book, I think I like the movie even more now, like now that I've read what it's based on, but I still think I prefer the movie to the book. I just can't explain it. I just love the movie so much, and I think I just love consuming the story visually rather than reading it, if that makes any sense. But one thing I did forget to mention in my last update is I love how funny this book is. Like Jane Austen is so funny, especially because in the movie Mr. Bennet is like really sassy and funny, and I love that they didn't just like add that into the movie. Like he's super sassy in this book too. Like, I don't know, I just really thought the writing was funny. Obviously Elizabeth Bennet is a savage, we love that for her, and I love Mr. Darcy, and the ending made me swoon and I loved it very much. Now so in the end I gave this book 4.5 stars, which you might notice is the same rating I gave No Exit. So it did make it a bit harder to pick between these books because I gave them the same rating. So I really had to think hard on which book to choose. And I'm filming this clip of like at least a week later, I think, after finishing this, because I really did not know which book I was gonna pick, but I have come to my decision. So the book that I will pick and the person that will be moving on to the next round of this video is Jess with No Exit. Now, I feel like No Exit was kind of like the underdog going up against this because of how much I loved the movie, and also because of I like thrillers, but I don't read a lot of thrillers, so I feel like Pride and Prejudice would have been the obvious choice. But I think the main reason was just like, and I promise the fact that I read this during finals did not dissuade my decision in any way. The writing style of this, like I loved Jane Austen's writing, but sometimes I just did not know what she was saying and I wasn't really sure what was going on, and I feel like if I hadn't seen the movie before reading this, I would have been confused at a lot of parts. And No Exit was just so good, so fast-paced, even though it definitely was gross at some points. Like, it was so well written, and obviously this was very well written too, but I had to pick one. And I think my overall enjoyment of No Exit was just a bit higher than Pride and Prejudice. So No Exit wins this round, which means Jess is moving on against whoever wins. I don't even remember who the other two are. I think it's Sydney and Kasey, but she'll face off whoever wins that battle. So I'm very sorry, Lisa. But you did pick a great book for me to read because I gave it 4.5 stars. So there we go. So yeah, that's the first round. Amazing. This is going fairly well so far. I mean, the books I've read, I've given 4.5 to both of them, so my friends know me well, clearly. But yeah, I'm very excited to see what else happens in this competition thing. And yeah, so let's just move on to the next book. Okay, so I have started my next book for this video, which is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This is Kasey's pick, and I am a little over halfway. I'm like a little over 200 pages, and there's like 350 pages, so I am really liking this book so far. However, this book is one of the most stressful experiences I've had reading a book. Like, I've had to put this book down after reading only like a chapter or two because this book is making me so stressed, and I've been in a pretty like stressed mood lately, so this has not been helping. I don't know, I remember after this book came out, a lot of people were saying like, this is not a thriller, it's just a contemporary. I don't know if we are reading the same book. This is one of the scariest books I think I've ever read. Like, there's so many weird, creepy things happening. I don't know how people are not scared reading this, but I am definitely very spooked. So this book follows this girl named Cindy who has grown up in this neighborhood in Brooklyn, and slowly but surely the neighborhood is being gentrified. It used to be like a predominantly black neighborhood, but slowly but surely more white people are moving in and black people are moving out, and there seems to be something a bit more sinister going on. And this book has a lot of great discussions about gentrification and systemic racism and stuff like redlining. So I think that this would be a great book to read if you are looking to learn more about stuff like that. I mean, I would definitely turn to a nonfiction first before reading a fiction book, but I think this does a pretty good job at educating you about like what gentrification is and what systemic racism is and how the system is basically designed to be not favorable towards black people and basically just puts them at a disadvantage right out of the gate. So I think that's definitely very valuable information, and I really appreciate what this book is doing. This book is also written really well. I haven't read a book by Alyssa Cole. I know she mostly writes romance books, and I think this is her first thriller, but she's doing a great job because I am very scared. I am really liking this book. The only thing is that I don't know if it'll be 5 stars just because this book is scary, which it's supposed to be, but like it's almost a little too scary for me. Like I'm not having a great time reading this because I just keep getting so freaked out. So I know the purpose of this whole challenge is like all these booktubers were supposed to recommend books that they thought I would like, and I am enjoying this, and I definitely would have read this whether or not Kasey recommended it to me or not, but this is definitely not my kind of book. It's a little too scary for me. So we'll see how this compares. I'm pretty sure the book this is going up against is a poetry collection, so that'll be definitely very interesting to compare this to, but it's definitely a great book, and like objectively it's a really good book, and I don't really know where it's going. There's definitely one thing that's kind of been spoken about that like I'm pretty sure I figured it out. Like I don't think it's supposed to be a secret about something. I know that's really vague, but I'm pretty sure I know something that's happening, but aside from that, like I have no idea how this is gonna end. I don't know how everything is gonna be explained, so I'm definitely interested to see how this book ends, but I'm also really scared. So we'll see how that goes, but yeah. So I'll update again once I have finished this book. Hello everyone. I'm gonna be honest, it's been a while since I've updated this video. Since the last time I did an update for this video, I have read 2 books for this vlog and almost finished a 3rd. So I have 2 books that I need to update you guys on and then give a like halfway update for another book. So you're gonna see a bunch of clips of me in this exact position, in this outfit, talking about some of these books. Yes, I'm filming them all right now. So please just ignore that. It's fine. I was actually, the day I was going to do this update, my family got some really horrible news, so that kind of delayed things a bit. So I'm back. I mean, for you guys, it's been 2 seconds. For me, it's been a long time. So some of these books I have to update on, I read a little while ago, so hopefully my updates are okay and I can give good enough thoughts on these books, but yeah. So the book that I need to talk about that I did finish is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. I know I did do a like halfway update for this book. I don't remember what I said. One thing I do remember is that something I talked a lot about with this book is that a lot of people, like this book is classified as horror, and a lot of people read this and were like, how is this horror? It's not horror. I disagree with that. I was so scared reading this. It's probably one of the scariest books I think I've ever read. And like, it doesn't take a lot to scare me, but still, this book really scared me. Like those feelings haven't left me, but a lot about this book did kind of leave me. At this point, I did finish this like 2 or 3 months ago. 2 months have passed! So I know I should have done an update closer to when I finished this, but life was just crazy. So yeah, I didn't love this book. I was liking it, but then the ending, I didn't really like what happened with the ending. I don't want to say too much, but like the ending kind of took a different turn. And while I do like the creativity of it, and like in a way it was kind of fantastical but also seemed like something that could actually happen, like I did appreciate that, but just for me, like I didn't really like the ending. So I gave this book 3.5 stars. I think it's a great book and I think it's written really well, and I do want to read more from Alyssa Cole, especially if she writes more thrillers. But yeah, it just wasn't completely for me and I wasn't super satisfied with the ending, but this is definitely a horror, okay? Whoever says it's not, they're wrong. So those are my thoughts on When No One Is Watching, and it's gonna be really interesting. I haven't read September Love yet, which is the book going up against this book, and it's gonna be very interesting to see how that compares because I never read poetry, and obviously a like poetry, I think it's about like romantic poems, but I'm honestly not sure. It's gonna be very interesting to put those up against each other, but 3.5, definitely not a bad book, just wasn't completely for me. Okay, hello. So I have read Sydney's book, which was September Love by Lang Leave. I did read this in one sitting because it is a poetry collection, so it was a pretty quick read. I read it in like half an hour, so it wouldn't have made much sense to stop halfway to give an update and then give another update once I was done. I also read it during a 24-hour readathon, so it just made more sense to do a like one-off update for this book. But I really didn't know what to expect going into this book because I've never read a poetry collection before and I've never been super into poetry. Like, I do like reading books in verse, but like singular poems, you know, that are only like a page long, I've never been too into that, so I was kind of hesitant going into this one. I thought for sure like a novel would beat a poetry collection, but I was pleasantly surprised. I really loved this. Like, I found a lot of it I could relate to. A lot of the poems had to do with love, and specifically like past love and a breakup, and it also touched on like feeling isolated because of the pandemic, and there was also a lot of poems about being a writer, which I couldn't relate to as much because I'm not a writer, but I just thought the poems were so beautiful. I did write down a few of the titles that I especially loved, so if you do check out this book, keep these ones in mind. So there was one poem, I only took down like the line because I read this on a tablet, so all the like the formatting was kind of off, so this poem was only one line, but I want to read it. I don't remember what it was called though, I didn't write it down, but it just said, "I used to think love had no limits, but I draw the line at myself." Like, that really hit me. What else? There's one poem called Taking Time that I really love. I don't want to read them all for you because I don't want to spoil them. There was one called Like It Was. That one really hit me. Oh my god. Okay, I think my favorite one is called 10 Things. You have to like find this poem somehow if you're not gonna read this whole book. Like 10 Things. Sydney, if you have the copy, go look at that poem. I loved that one so much. That one like really hit me. Oh, also one of the last poems is called December. I'll read this one for you. It says, "It is only the year that is ending, so why does it feel like the world is?" Am I right? So yeah, those are just a few of them, but I was so pleasantly surprised by this collection. Like, I really loved most of the poems. Some of them, like I said, didn't resonate with me as much. Some of them I thought were kind of like a little too cheesy. Like, I was like, okay, what's the point of this one? But I think that's kind of how poetry goes. They're usually hit or miss for some people. So I gave this 4.5 stars just because I wasn't like obsessed with every single poem, but I thought it was so amazing, and it definitely makes me want to read more poetry collections in the future. So with that being said, this book does beat When No One Is Watching, so Sydney will be moving on to the next round. I am very sorry, Casey. I did obviously really enjoy No One Is Watching, but this one I just liked a little bit more. It kind of hit me in the feels, and yeah, so Sydney's moving on. How exciting, and let's just get into the next round. Okay, so I did start Sasha's book, which was 6 Months Later by Natalie D. Richards, and I have since finished Sasha's book as well. I did not give a halfway update, I'm very sorry, but I finished this a couple of weeks ago and I have some thoughts. I feel so bad. I really didn't like this book. I am so sorry, Sasha. Like, when I was reading it, like I posted about it on Instagram, I think, and she like sent me a message being like, "Oh my god, you read 6 Months Later," and like I couldn't give her my thoughts, and I felt so bad because I knew like I really didn't like it. So this book is about this girl who, I think the beginning of the book, she's at the beginning of her senior year of high school. I think that's what it was, and she is in detention, and like there's this guy who's really popular that she has a crush on, and there's this girl that's been her best friend for a lot of her life, and then she falls asleep in detention and wakes up 6 months later, and she's dating this guy that she had a crush on, and her best friend haven't spoken in 6 months, and so she's like, what the heck, like she cannot remember the past 6 months of her life, and it goes from there. And this book was just so cheesy, and I just really did not like the writing in this book. I was intrigued by the mystery, and I wanted to know like what was happening with her and why she couldn't remember the past 6 months of her life, and like there were definitely a lot of twists and turns. Like, I definitely didn't guess what was gonna happen because it just kind of came so far from left field. Is that the expression? I don't remember, but like there's no way I could have predicted what was going on, which like I know some people like, and I'm sure Sasha likes. For me, like I like when there's hints about what's going on so you can actually guess what's going on instead of being like, here's what happened, and it's like I literally could not have seen that coming. Like, so I just didn't like that. I also, there is suicide in this book, and like when it reveals that this character committed suicide, it added literally nothing to the plot. Like, the characters find out that this other character died by suicide, and it was just kind of like, oh god, that's so sad, and then they just moved on with the plot. And so I was like, so why include that? Like, that really bothered me. There was also a lot of discussion on mental health in this book that just I didn't love it. Like, the main character suffered from panic attacks, and like, for me personally, I didn't love how it was written in, but like, it could differ from person to person, obviously, and obviously Sasha really loves this book, so I am so sorry, Sasha. This book just, it wasn't for me. There was also like some lines in this, and I was like, because I listened to the audiobook, and hearing some of these lines, I was like, like I had to laugh even though they weren't funny. I feel so bad, so I'm so sorry, Sasha, but I gave this book 2 stars. I'm so sorry. So it's safe to say I didn't love this book, and we'll see how it matches up with Manda's book, but yeah. I'm so sorry, Sasha. Please forgive me. But that's how 6 months later went. So we'll go see how Amanda's book matches up with Sasha's. Okay, so I did start Amanda's book, which is The Mighty Heart of Sunny St. James by Ashley Herring Blake, and I also finished Amanda's book. I kept being like, oh, I should probably... Hello. I kept being like, oh, I should probably update the vlog about this book, but then I was like, but I just want to read it. I really, really liked this. It's kind of hard to explain what this book is about because there's so many elements to it, so I'm gonna read the back of it for you because I just want to see what the back says. So it says, when Sunny St. James receives a new heart, she decides to set off on a new life plan. 1. Do awesome, amazing things she could never do before. 2. Find a new best friend. 3. Find a boy and kiss him. Sunny's plan seems to be racing forward, but when she meets Quinn, a girl with serious best friend potential, Sunny questions whether she really wants to kiss a boy at all. As if that's not enough, the re-emergence of her mother after years of absence brings buried feelings to the surface. With so much weighing down Sunny's new heart, how will she ever become the new Sunny St. James? I think that says it perfectly. Like, this is about, obviously, Sunny St. James. She is about 12 years old, and she has to get a heart transplant. So obviously there's a lot of talk about illness in this book. So if that is a trigger for you, I would maybe be careful before going into this one, because even though this is a middle grade, like, it is pretty hard hitting. Also, the synopsis talks about her mom. Her mom gave her up when she was 4 years old because she is an alcoholic, and so she didn't feel like she was fit to take care of Sunny. So her mom comes back after a long time of being away. So there's all of that, and there's also Sunny questioning her sexuality because she meets this girl. She wonders whether she might have a crush on her. So there's just so much going on in this book, and it's done so well. This is the first book I've read from Ashley Herring Blake, and I loved her writing so much, and I can't wait to read more of her books. I really love this, and I gave it 4.5 stars, which means this does beat 6 months later, which was Sasha's pick. So I'm so sorry, Sasha. I still feel bad that I didn't like that book. I'm really sorry, Sasha, but that means that Manda does win the first round, and we'll move on. Do I know who she's against in the second round? I don't think so at the time that I'm filming this. I don't think I know that yet. But anyways, she will move on. But yeah, I really, really love this, and I highly recommend to people who are not sure if they will like middle grade, because this was really amazing. I find it didn't even read like too young or anything like that. I thought it was just very well written, and I can't wait to read more from this author. So yeah, very successful, and congrats, Amanda. And let's move on to the next round. Okay, so I have started Rachel's book, which is Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Novelle. I'm actually kind of getting close to the end. I have this much left, which is how many pages? I have less than 100 pages left, and I am loving this book. I am loving this book. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. Like, I'm really, really loving it. So I think it's really best to go into this book not knowing too much about what it's about, because all I knew before going into this book is that it's about this girl who finds like this giant metal hand in the woods, and that's really all I knew. And I think it's best going into it because the story just goes from there. What little more I will say is that this girl, like, when she grows up, she actually becomes the scientist, and she is assigned to this project of dealing with this metal hand and certain other metal mysterious objects that are being found around the world. That's all I'll say. But it's just so It's so good. It's also written in like this interview format. I don't know if you can tell. So it reads very quickly. It's also very short too. So I am flying through this book. There's also a Quebecois character named Vincent, and I really like him. I mean, well, yeah. I think I really like him. Sometimes he'll say French words and I'm like, I get you. That's such a weird thing, but also Sylvain Neuvel is Quebecois also, so I'm like, I see you, guy. But yeah, I really like this book. Like, you don't even know that much about the characters, but I'm so attached to them, even though I barely know anything about them. And like, I really want to know where this is going, because this is the first book in a series, and like, I have no idea how this book is going to end, and I have no idea where it could go from where it's coming from. Why am I thinking of Cotton Eye Joe? Anyways, I am loving this, and I can't believe it's taken me so long to read this book, but I can definitely see why this is one of Rachel's favorite books, and this is such a great recommendation because I am loving this book. I might actually finish it today, we'll see. But there we go, I finally give an update halfway through a book, so I will update again once I'm done this book. Okay, so I have finished Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel. I loved this. I loved this so much. Rachel is onto something, you know? I think this might end up in my top 10 books of the year. Like, I loved this so much, and I think when I updated, I was like 100 pages maybe from the end, and I mean, this whole book was just wild. Like, things just kept happening. It felt like every chapter some big thing happened, and Laszlo's just chewing on his toy. I'm sorry if you can hear that. But the end of this book, like, I need the second book now, please. Thank you. I mean, there is like a reveal in the epilogue, and I had a feeling that like the thing you find out, I had a feeling that that thing would happen. That's the best I can say without spoiling it, but oh my god, it was so good. I loved Sylvain Neuvel's writing, and I think this story really worked well with the interview format. I don't know if it would have been as interesting if it wasn't in that format, and also like there is some secrecy behind who this like interviewer is. We have no idea who it is. All we know is that it's a man, and that's it. I just loved this so much, so I gave it 5 stars. So it's gonna be really hard for Where'd You Go, Bernadette to beat this. I do not foresee that being 5 stars, but I guess you never know. But yeah, I love this. I love the characters. I mean, some of them made some questionable decisions, but I thought every character just felt so real. Like, even though you don't even find out too much about their lives, they just felt so real to me. Like, I just thought this was so well done, and I'm so excited to read the rest of this series. So Rachel's suggestion was a success, and one of my new favorite books. I love this so much. So let's go on to Salma's book now. Okay, so I have started Salma's book, which is Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple. And by the way, speaking of Salma, before I get into this book, I would like to mention that yesterday Salma basically saved this whole video. I thought I lost basically all the footage that I had for this video so far. I could not find the files, and then I did find the files, but they were like, they were not working, and then they kept disappearing and then showing up again. It was very weird, and I FaceTimed with Salma and she was trying to help me, and then finally she figured out where they might be, and sure enough I found them. So this video exists because of her. So before I start talking about this book, I need to mention that I am very grateful for Salma. We should all be very grateful for her, and we all love her. Okay, so Where'd You Go, Bernadette? I'm about halfway and I kind of hate it. I really don't like it. So first of all, this book is really not what I thought it was gonna be. I thought this book was about this woman disappearing and her family trying to find her. And it is about that, but it's told in a way that I just really was not expecting. Basically, like, at the beginning of the book, it mentions that Bernadette has gone missing, and it's her daughter who's telling the story, and her daughter is talking about Bernadette's life through like showing emails that Bernadette sent and emails between other characters who know Bernadette, and like conversations that Bernadette had with different characters, and then the daughter's also like recounting scenes between her and her family and stuff like that. And I am assuming it's going to lead to why Bernadette left, and maybe it'll lead to them finding her. I really don't know where this is going, but I hate hate the way that this is told. It's weird because I like books that are told in like different formats, like interviews, and like I like multimedia elements to books. I like when emails are included, and I like when text messages are included, but I find in this book it's just really not working. And I'm also so bored. Like, so much of this book is like petty drama between these suburban moms, and like one mom in particular. Like, you're not supposed to like her, but she is insufferable. I hate her so much. And like Bernadette, I don't really like her either, so I don't really care. I feel like that sounds bad, but I don't really care that she disappears because I find her very unlikable. Also, like, there's so much conversation in this book about like if Bernadette is okay mentally, and if she's depressed, or if she's having some psychotic episode. And I find that so much of the plot hinges on Bernadette's mental health, and I hate that, especially because this book is written as like a comedy, so her problems are kind of being presented in a funny way, and I just really hate that. And speaking of it being a comedy, where is the comedy? This book is not funny at all. I have not laughed once reading this book. I'm just so over it. I really I really don't like it. The funny thing is, like, this is Salma's choice, but Rachel is the one who gifted me this book, and she also really likes this book, but Salma and Rachel are facing off, and like, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I'm sure Rachel is gonna win this round because of how much I loved Sleeping Giants, but I really don't like this. And I did think about DNFing it, but I felt like for this video I had to see all of the books through. So that's what I'm gonna do. They also, like, this is just a me thing, but there's such like unnecessary hate towards Canada in this book. Like, Bernadette just really hates Canada, and I'm like, why? What did we ever do to you? So that is unnecessary. But anyways, I'm really not liking this. I don't like any of the characters. I don't think it's funny. I hate the way it's written. I don't like it. I don't like it. And I have a feeling I'm not gonna like it until the end. So that's my update for Where'd You Go, Bernadette. Hopefully it gets better by the end, but I don't have high hopes. So we're gonna see this to the end, and we'll see how the rest of the book goes. Okay, hi. So I have finished Where'd You Go, Bernadette. I actually finished it like over a week ago now, but I've been procrastinating filming this update because I don't want to talk about this. So I don't even have the book with me. It's downstairs because I wanted it far away from me. So I'm so sorry. I hated this book. I hated this book so much. I hated it so much. I can't even express my hatred for this book. Yeah, I think this is my least favorite book I've ever read. I know that's a big claim to make, especially since Conviction by Denise Mina exists, but I hated this book. I hated it. I was listening to the audiobook while I read it physically, and I just kept upping the speed on the audiobook because I just wanted to get through this book. And I know I could have DNF'd it, but I felt like I needed to see all these books through to the end, give them all the same chance, you know? But I hated it. I hated everything about it. I hated all the characters. I hated Bernadette. She was so annoying. I hated all the other like moms in this suburb area. And I know like I think this is supposed to be like satire, so you're not supposed to like all these characters, but I just hated how this was written. It had so many weird jokes in it, so many like casually racist comments in it, and I think I mentioned this in my halfway update, but Bernadette had something against Canada. But like not like Canada as a whole, like Canadians specifically, and I was like, why? And I know, once again, it's supposed to be a joke, but I was like, why? Like I said, there were so many weirdly casually racist comments, and I was like, this doesn't work today. I mean, it shouldn't have worked then anyways. And like there was a part where Bernadette's daughter B, like she goes to church and I think they're singing Christmas songs. Like this book has already left my brain. It's only been a week and I have ejected it from the premises. But there's a part where B goes to a church service around Christmas time, and she's looking at all like the people in the church and how they're kind of like letting themselves go and letting themselves be themselves or something, and she's like, wow, Catholics really are oppressed. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, oh my god, I hated the writing of this book so much. I thought I like at the beginning of this book when there was like letters and stuff, I was like, oh, this is a nice way to start the book, I guess. And then it was the whole book. It was just letters and like weird excerpts from different people and like phone conversations and emails. And I was like, I normally I like mixed media in books, but this just did not work for me. I hated it so much. So I gave this 1 star, and unless it isn't clear, obviously Rachel won this round because I loved Sleeping Giants and I hated this book so much. And the funny thing is, I'm sure I've mentioned this already, but Rachel is the one who gifted me this book and she likes this book, and in my vlog where I talked about reading this book, she was like, oh my god, I'm worried about recommending this book to you because I think my thoughts have changed on it. And I was like, you're not the one who recommended it to me. And I guess she forgot that she had recommended Sleeping Giants, not this book. But Salma, I'm so sorry Salma, like Salma, we love Salma. I feel bad because Salma has excellent reading taste and I think it's been a while since she read this book. And even if she does like this book, like, it's fine if you like this book. Obviously that's fine, it doesn't matter. But for me personally, I hated it so much. So I'm so sorry Salma, but thank you so much for being a part of this video and for saving this video. Obviously it's because of you. So let's all say thank you to Salma. But yes, Rachel did win this round and we'll be moving on. And that is the last round of this video. God bless. So let's get back to outro Darian, who will wrap this whole thing up for you guys. Okay, hi, we're back. It's me again. Hello. So you just saw how everything went, how I reacted to all the books, and now we know the results of round 1. So going into round 2, we will have Jess going against Sydney, and we will have Manda going against Rachel. Very interesting matchups. We had a lot of surprises in these results, I think, personally. I'm very surprised that Pride and Prejudice didn't win, for example, but that's the whole point of this, is that hopefully it kept you on your toes. I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this first part of the Great Booktube Showdown. I hope it was worth the wait. It probably wasn't. Like I said earlier, definitely go check out all of these people. Give them some love. I am so grateful for them for agreeing, even though they didn't know what they were agreeing to, to participate in this. And I can't wait to read these next books for round 2 and 3. And we will see in part 2 who wins this whole dang thing. And yeah, once again, if you're watching this, my friends, and you didn't move on, or if I didn't like the books you suggested, obviously it's not personal and I love you guys so much, so hopefully everything is fine. But again, a big thank you to everyone who agreed to participate, and thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully again it was worth the wait, and yeah, I can't wait to see you guys for part 2. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon with another video soon. Bye!